This
And now,
conference will now be recorded.
I request our HOD, Professor N. Sainath, to continue the session.
Yeah, thank you, Tulasi. On behalf of Siddhartha Institute of Engineering and Technology, I welcome all the participants to the online workshop organized by the Department of Computer Science and Engineering in the name of Advances in IoT, Internet of Things. As you are aware that the current trends are showing that the technology is most advanced and everyone are behind the technology. So that is the root cause why as a faculty or a student or a scholar we need to be improved technically a lot. So that's why there is a need and necessity of educating ourselves, motivating ourselves towards the upliftment of the knowledge of ourselves, and always compete with the marketing trends and strategies by learning all this type of innovative technology. So Siddhartha Institute of Engineering and Technology is located in Vinoba Nagar, Ibrahimpatnam, with a 14 acres lush green campus. So recently we have got approval for 2 more additional courses like data science and artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we have a strong research foundation in the institute headed by an R&D director. We have been producing a couple of patents. We have produced around 25 patents from the institution and around 200 publications in the past 2 years from the department. And the resource persons for today's workshop are Mr. Sujanavan and Vikram Narayan Das. Both are my friends, and I thank them for accepting my invitation and immediately giving us a date for conducting and hosting this kind of event. So thank you, Sujanan and Vikram, and also I thank my management who has given me a full hand and support in conducting these kind of events. And I request all the participants to stick on to the workshop, learn and improve your knowledge. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. And now I request the resource person for today's event, Sujanan and Vikram, to start the session. Thank you one and all. Let us start the session now.
Okay, thank you, Sainath, for a brief introduction about resource persons. And I am Vikram Narayan Das, Assistant Professor in CSE Department.
Sir, sorry for the disturbance. There is a Sir, sorry for the disturbance. There was a small network disconnectivity. Can you please give me the sharing rights again? Screen sharing rights, presentation rights.
Yeah, 1 second, sir. Yeah. Now you are the presenter, sir. Yeah. Yeah, Vikram, carry on. You can start now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I hope
Yes, sir.
my
Vikram, sir,
presentation
you can
is
start.
visible to all. I hope my presentation is visible to all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, one and all. I am Vikram Narayan Das, Cisco NetAcademy instructor and assistant professor in MVS Engineering College, and also a part-time PhD scholar in Department of IT, Annamalai University.
Hello, everyone. I am Sujanavan Tirvaipati. I am an assistant professor in MBSR Engineering College. I am also a part-time research scholar in the domain of IoT at Osmania University. And I also have a hobby project called Sushi Linux. It's a Debian Ubuntu Linux OS distribution, free to use and download.
Okay, we'll start the session. So today's session is basics fundamentals of IoT. This were beginners. If you have already gone introduction of IoT, I guess this session you might already know. Of course, I'll give you a different approach here. You need to remember this person name, which is important. He's the first person who was invented something called as a internet toaster. Okay. So what is the internet toaster? The toaster connected to internet with TCP/IP networking and controlled with simple networking management protocol. It had one control to turn the power on, and darkness of the toast was controlled by how long the power was kept on. He's the first person who is invented something called as the internet toaster. This is for the people don't know anything about the IoT here. So he used to work in company called as a P&G, Procter and Gamble, very famous company. During tea break, his manager asked, "Can you control this toaster over the internet?" Then he created an internet toaster using a protocol called as a simple network management protocol. This is done in 1990, but the problem is he was a father who did not name his child. It is also executed. Please remember the person, John Ramke. Coming to in 1999, there was a person called Kevin Haston. He invented a term. Term is nothing but a meaning of full words called as a Internet of Things here. So he's the inventor of the term. Kindly speaking, is a father who named the child here. So try to understand these two people, most important. So now coming to the IoT. What is an IoT? The full form of IoT itself is a big confusion here. Of course, if you ask any person, he will tell that IoT is a Internet of Things here. Very good. Is it always Internet of Things? I don't think so here. Out of my research, my study, I did see IoT is a Internet of Things here. There are other people say IoT as a intranet of things. That means there's a local network. Your organization is also a local network. You may have many components in your organization, and different hardware need to talk each other to synchronize so that product line does the job here. To say simple, something communicating each other here. So Internet of Things and intranet of things, but actually I think it is something called as a integration of the things. It could be a Internet of Things or Internet of Things, but what we are trying to do here, we are trying to integrate different things here. So I think IoT should in the meaning of integration of things here. That is, IoT is a new world where every day device talks to one another and everything you do is monitored in real time. But there is confusion again. What do you mean by cloud? What do you mean by data analytics? Please let me tell you something. IoT is not only integration of things, but also it is an integration of technologies here. So please try to understand IoT is a kind of integrating technology. We have a cloud, we have computer networks, we have the image processing. So borrow all this or integrate all these technologies, nothing but a IoT here. Let's see step by step what you mean by the Internet of Things. Let's start with the words like Internet of the Things. Nowadays, everyone says Internet means a cloud where we can store the data. cloud is a remote system where hardware and software is provided as a service over the internet here. We can say cloud are web-based and internet-based computing are same thing here. Then coming to the things are the physical entities like physical devices, vehicles, home appliances. Coming to the off is also have some meaning here, used to connecting these two words. Okay, not two words, two worlds we can say. That is internet as well as the things. Internet means the portion of the logical world, and things is nothing but a physical entities here. And here off is also having some special meaning called as a connectivity. So what do you mean by cloud? Of course, cloud means you need to have some physical hardware, that is you need a server, you need to have some data store, then you need to have perform some analysis, some processing, and some visualization here. Okay, this visualization you need to show to the user. This is all the part of the cloud. Machine learning, AI, data science, everything you can push on this side. Next, coming to the physical entities. Physical entities may be a bulb, it may be a fan, it may be a door, it may be a smartwatch, smartphone. It could be also electricity, water, and a gas. If you have a monitoring device attached to it, it could be a car, it could be a bus, it could be also a train or ship. Anything embedded with the electronics, software, sensors, actuators, and connectivity, which enables these things to connect here and collect and exchange the data. Coming to the next connectivity, things which are involved in connectivity are, it may be a hub, it may be a switch. Hub is nothing but, hub is also called as a networking hub, a common connection point for devices in the network, generally commonly used to connect the segments of the LAN. Coming to the switch, it connects together all the devices in a similar or dissimilar networks. And coming to the next levels, router is a virtual or physical networking device, creating a connection between the local network or various wide area networks here. Similarly, a bridge means interconnection with the other networks that using the same protocol. The bridge can be implemented in the data link layer. Coming to the gateway is a device used to connect the two different networks. That is connection in the internet, you can say. Coming to the ISP providing the internet here, internet service providers. So all clubbed together, called as a Internet of Things here. So in between, if you want to work all these things to work together, we need something called as a protocols. What are the protocols? When you go for the TCP/IP protocol suite, we can see n number of protocols in each layer. Coming to the network layer, it may be a IP, IPv4, IPv6, ARP or RARP, ICMP or IGMP. Coming to the transport layer, we can see the TCP or UDP. Coming to the application layer, we can see the DNS, Telnet, FTP, TFTP. So many application communication protocols we can see in the application layer. So there's some popular protocols being used. One is HTTP over TCP, one is MQTT over TCP, and CoAP over UDP. So coming to the TCP, what is the TCP here? TCP is a transport layer You can see it is one of the communication protocol in the transport layer. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, which ensures secure communication between the devices here. That is client and server, which means connection is established and maintained until application programs at each end have finished exchanging the messages. For example, when web server sends HTML file to a client, it uses the hypertext protocol, HTTP protocol. Coming to the UDP, is nothing but user datagram protocol, said to be unreliable protocol, but uses the IP services which provides best effort delivery mechanism. Basically, UDP is suitable for streaming applications such as voice over IP or multimedia applications. Coming to the MQTT, stands for Message Queuing Telemetry Transport. This is application layer protocol, lightweight messaging protocol designed for machine-to-machine telemetry in a low bandwidth environments here. Coming to the CoAP, it is a constrained application protocol used in minimal resources, both on device, on the network, and also on the network here. It depends like what combination. If it is based on reliability or if it is based on the lightweight here. Next, what do you mean by protocol? Protocol is a set of rules and guidelines for communicating the data. It is a digital language through which we communicate with others on the internet, that is set of mutually accepted and implemented rules at both ends of the communication channel for proper exchange of information here. So different entities can cooperate together to exchange the information here. Protocols can act as a traffic rules and road signs. That is, everything goes fine. Okay. Protocols act as a traffic rules and road signs. That is, everything goes fine here. I'll just hand over the session to the Sujanavan.
Thank you, Vikram. So now we'll be seeing step by step about the various elements of Internet of Things, taking some small examples. So first, let us start with the things. Things are also called as physical entities, as Vikram said. So here I'm taking an example of a bulb. So you see a bulb over here. So you can take any other example. You can take any home appliance. You can take a mixer. You can take anything. You can choose anything from here, a fan or a washing machine, whichever becomes the Internet of Things, part of Internet of Things. So now once you attach a sensor to this bulb or an actuator to this bulb, it becomes one physical entity. Now there are different types of sensors. Okay, so there are variety of sensors. It could be temperature, it could be humidity or humidity or air pressure. There are different and actuators. So adding these sensors and actuators to this bulb becomes a physical entity. Now this concept is very old. Okay, so we are seeing the history of IoT. From where did IoT start? So this concept is very old. So this concept is actually called as control systems. So this concept is already there from long ago. It was called as control systems, where you have a physical entity being controlled or being sensed by a sensor attached and controlled by an actuator. So it goes like this, and then based on the sensor values, actuator takes a decision, and then the bulb gets controlled or on and off. Okay, so what are the different examples of control systems? Nowadays it's very popular, this example is very popular, a water overflow alarm for a tank. Okay, this is a very popular control systems example. So whenever you try to go to Koti, okay, most shops outside, this example will be kept. Okay, it is for sale anyway. So this is the best example for control systems. Apart from this example, there are other examples like an old air conditioner. Okay, not modern air conditioners, old conditioners, where there used to be a temperature sensor, and then based on the temperature values, the actuator would switch on off the AC. So this is a very old model air conditioner. Okay, apart from that, even a washing machine, old, not modern washing machines which are fully automatic. I'm talking about old washing machines where there used to be a timer as a sensor. So the time used to sense for how much time the washing machine can run, and then it would give a signal to the actuator to switch the motor off. And in olden days, or still being used nowadays, there's a motion sensor alarm. So in banks or at places where there are valuables, for example, gold shops, okay, so you have these motion sensor alarms. Okay, it is a part of control systems. So for seeing a small example, okay, a simple security mechanism using motion sensor alarm. Now let's move, because it is a pandemic time, we are in lockdown. So how do we see this example? So we'll see this example using something called as a Cisco packet tracer. So now Vikram will talk about what is Cisco packet tracer and what can you do with Cisco packet tracer.
Thank you, Sujan.
Vikram?
Yeah, thank you, Sujan. Cisco
Yes, sir.
Packet Tracer is a simulated tool, okay, which include users can run simulations on all the devices compatible with the Cisco Packet Tracer, including Windows. It can also run in Linux and Android phones. It's a powerful simulation tool built by Cisco people, and you can practice and build a simple and complex networks across a variety of devices. You can create the solutions that are interconnected for smart cities, homes, and enterprises. Coming to the tool, we can see the network devices. Okay, network end device. First of all, we can see the routers. There are different routers we can see, and switches. Next, switches, hubs, you can see again repeater, coaxial splitter. Coming to the next device, wireless devices. Then security. Next device is the security and WAN emulation. That may be a cloud, it may be a DSL modem, or it may be a cable modem here. Coming to the end devices, networking device. First, end device may be a PC, it may be a laptop, it may be a server, it may be a printer, it may be iPhone, it may be a home VoIP, analog phone, it may be a TV, it may be anything. Okay. And coming to the next components. So you can see components. One is MCU, microcontroller unit. One is MCU, microcontroller unit, like Arduino. One is SBC. Next one is SBC, single board component, like Raspberry Pi. Next is a thing. Next, coming to the connections. So in connections, we can see automatic console, copper straight through, copper crossover, automatic console, copper straight through, copper crossover, fiber, phone, coaxial, serial DC, serial DTE, octal, and last from second, it is a custom IoT custom cable, and last one is a USB. So other components are there, miscellaneous and multi-user connection here. After the connection, one is miscellaneous, one is a multi-user connection. Next one is a multi-user connection. So this is all about the Cisco Packet Tracer tool. So we can simulate the n number of examples in real time also. I will hand this session to the Sujanavan. Thank you, Sujan.
Thank you, sir. So now let us see the example we were discussing about. So we thought of seeing an example of a motion sensor alarm, a simple security device. So for that, I'll be going to components. So please observe on the left bottom corner, I'm clicking on components. Then it is a control system. So a control system doesn't need a programming interface. This first part is board, which is a programming interface. The next part is actuators. So you see over here there are different actuators. Okay, so we have something called alarm here. So I'm choosing an alarm. I'm dragging and dropping it over here. Then next category we have sensors. So these are the different types of sensors. So you have humidity, humidity, and many types of sensors which we have some switches also. Okay, so here I'm selecting something called as a motion sensor. Now, in order to connect this alarm, which is an actuator, to this sensor, which is a motion sensor, I need a connection cable. So I'll go to connections. Then in these connections, I'll be choosing, as Vikram sir said, second from the last, that is the IoT custom cable. Now, I click on one of the device and then it shows me the interface available. Here D stands for digital and 0 stands for the sequence number. So D0 means it has only one interface. So I select it. Now it is connected. Now I select on the actuator, which is an alarm. I select it. So it shows digital and it has only one pin. So I select it. Okay. Now these both are connected. Now it is a simulation environment. So a human cannot go into it logically. So how can we work with this motion sensor? So double click on the motion sensor and then a window appears regarding the description regarding the motion sensor. So this is a description regarding motion sensor. What is a motion sensor? How does it, what are its features? Okay. And then how to control it. So a human cannot go inside. So instead, the mouse pointer, what you see over here, is going to act as a human. But now it doesn't sense. When does it sense? When I use the key Alt. So now please observe, I'll be using the Alt key. Now it doesn't sense, but now I'm going to click on Alt key. Once this mouse moves in front of this motion sensor, please observe this alarm. Okay, now I'm clicking on Alt and I'm trying to move the mouse. So this is what is a simulation environment. Okay, logically it simulates what happens, it visualizes what happens in the physical world when this sensor is kept to work. Okay, I hope it is clear. Now let's go back to the presentation. Next, so in the previous step, we have seen that control systems is a bulb attached to a sensor and actuator. Now, if the same, this control systems is attached to a microcontroller unit. Now that becomes something called as an anatomy of a thing. So what do you mean by anatomy of a thing? So it is like a IoT device. So it has a microcontroller, okay, it has a sensor, and it has an actuator. So here actuator for a bulb is some LEDs. So this is the new IoT bulb. So it has a LED, it has a sensor plate just to sense whether the light is on or off, or is it getting heated too much so that it can automatically switch off. And you have this housing so that it can carry everything inside and it will look beautiful. Okay, so this is anatomy of a thing. Now what actually is anatomy of a thing? It is actually called embedded systems. It was there long ago. Embedded systems was there. It is still there in the market. Control systems also is there in the market. But please try to understand that whenever you have control systems, it doesn't have a programming interface, where embedded systems has a programming interface by using a microcontroller unit or a microprocessor unit. Okay, a single board computer like Raspberry Pi or a microcontroller unit like Arduino. So here I just added something called Wi-Fi. Okay, this you'll know in the later steps. Why I have used a microcontroller unit with a Wi-Fi shield. Okay, what are the examples of embedded systems? Because they are there from long ago. What are the best examples? So we have seen MP3 players, different types of MP3 players, all your iPods, iPod Nano, yes, your mobile phones, okay, your smartphones and smartwatches, yes, and your gaming consoles from long ago. You are using these gaming consoles, yes, your DVD players. Nowadays no one is using this. Everything has like you have smart TVs nowadays, but still. Next, then digital cameras. These are all part of embedded systems. Okay, now control systems. Next step is embedded systems, where you can do some programming. Okay, now some more examples mentioned over here in the bottom are like GPS. Okay, GPS is also a embedded systems. In those days mobile phone would not have GPS used to be a separate device. Okay, so now let's see a demo of an example where you have a bulb connected to a microcontroller unit and programming of it. This is going to be the first example when you enter into the world of IoT. Okay, that is blinking an LED using a Arduino. So we'll be seeing this program. So let me take a new environment, new workspace. Okay, now I'm coming to components, left hand bottom corner, components. Now I come to something called MCU. I just drag and drop. The representation looks like an Arduino. Okay, so drag and drop, I just place it over here. Now I need an actuator, a bulb, an LED to control. So I'm taking a LED. I'm coming to the actuator section. Please understand, this is components. First part is boards. Second part or second category is actuators. So in the actuator section, we have something called LED. I'm dragging and dropping the LED over here. Now we need to connect this microcontroller unit to this LED. Okay, for that I need to go to connections. Then, as discussed before, I need to take a IoT custom cable. Now the problem is the microcontroller unit will have many interfacing, that is many GPIO, general purpose input output. Okay, once I click on it, I'll have a huge list of all the pins. They're also called as pins, like some people call it as pins, some people call it as GPIO. Okay, so whatever starts with D are called as digital, and whatever starts with A are called analog. I hope it is visible. So there are 6 digital and 4 analog available. Okay, now LED, the LED which I have taken is digital, so I'm going to take digital. So instead of 0, I'm going to take 1. Please try to understand that this number D1 or the pin number is very important on the microcontroller side because it is going to be used in the program. Okay, so here I'm selecting D1. So please remember that D1 is going to be utilized in the program. So that is very important. Next, click on LED. Now this D0 you don't need to remember, okay, because you are not programming the LED, okay, you are programming the microcontroller. Okay, now how do we program in the simulation environment? If it is a real life, you are going to connect this microcontroller to a computer and then program this microcontroller unit. Okay, but here we can double click. I'm going to double click on this microcontroller unit. Yes, now I get this interface. Now here you need to go to something called as programming tab. There's a programming tab. You need to go to programming tab. Here already there is an example called Blink. Okay, this is a basic example which is given by Cisco Packet Tracer. I did not create it. This is a project. This is the name of a project. It is written over here, project. Okay, so Blink is the name of the project. Double click and you'll go into the project files. Whatever you see here are project files. So there is a file called as main.js. Okay, yeah, it is written in JavaScript, but you'll understand that it is compatible with your Arduino code. Okay, it is compatible with Arduino code. So here you have two functions. One is called as the setup and one is called as the loop. Setup function is for doing initializations. Okay, if you want to do initializations, we are going to do setup. Initializations in embedded systems are going to work only once when you switch on the device or when you power on the device. It is going to run only once, execute only once. Okay, next, this loop function will run infinite number of times because embedded systems are to run forever, infinite number of times. So these instructions run infinite number of times, and these instructions in setup will run only once when the device is switched on or powered on, or when you click a reset on it. Okay, so please try to understand. Okay, now in this setup function we have something called as pin mode. I am using a pin called D1. So this is 1. It is actually D1. So for digital you don't need to mention over here. You can just write 1. Okay, for analog you need to mention A in the front. Okay, for digital it is not required. So this is the pin 1. That's why I told you you should remember the pin on the microcontroller side which you are trying to connect with the actuators or sensors. Now this pin 1, you are going to define its mode, whether it is input mode or whether it is output mode. Okay, now I am connecting 1 to an actuator. So actuator means output device. Okay, so I am using mode as output. Next, for debugging purpose, I am just printing a serial print blinking. Now because this blinking is inside the setup, it will execute only once during initialization. Now next, go to the next function, loop. In this loop I'm going to use a function called digital write. This function is going to send voltage values to the actuator. Okay, so if you want the LED to glow, you need to send voltage. Okay, now which pin you need to send the voltage? Pin number 1. Okay, and how much voltage? This is the full voltage. Because it is digital write, you only have high and low. If it is analog, you can control a range. Okay, now once I say 1 and high, that means the LED will glow. I'm giving a small delay which is 1000 milliseconds, which is equivalent to 1 second. Next, I'm again writing digital write 1 as low. That means after 1 second, it is going to cut the voltage. Okay, next I have a delay. Let me increase it to 1 second. Now once I click on this run over here, please observe the LED over here. Okay, please observe the LED over here once I click on this run. Okay, once I click on this run, yes, now this LED starts glowing. So this is the beauty of Cisco Packet Tracer. Okay, so this simulation environment can, yeah, it can show in real time. If you do, this is how it is going to happen. Okay, yeah, and if you observed in the this section below, this is where your serial monitor is going to happen. Okay, so normally this part happens in the computer, the output is seen in the serial monitor in the computer, but here we have it right over here. As I told you, blinking, this blinking is in the initialization section, so it happens only once. If I shift this blinking to the loop section, now what is going to happen? Now this blinking is in loop. That means it's going to run infinite number of times. So please observe this serial outputs over here. So blinking now will run n number of times. It will be printed to the serial monitor n number of times. Once, twice, thrice, and so on. It keeps on printing the statement because it is inside the loop condition. Okay. Now let's go back to the presentation. Yes. Now, yeah. Now, once you have many kinds of things, so this is an anatomy of a thing. Okay. You have many. You have a bulb, you have a fan, you have a IoT door, and so on. Okay. So if they are connected to a home Wi-Fi router, okay, most probably a gateway will do the job. Okay, now that becomes like these things at your home can interact with each other. These things at your home can interact with each other. That will lead to something called as intranet of things. Something called as intranet of things. Vikram has already discussed intranet of things when he was discussing the confusion behind the definition or the full form of IoT. So intranet of things, why do people use intranet of things? When you don't want internet, you don't need internet for things to interact among each other. For example, in a industry, you have a product line, manufacturing line, they don't need internet. They can compute with a server which is inside the factory itself. Why do you need internet of things? If I go to internet, again there will be security issues, right? Data leakage. Okay, so why do I need internet of things? You can also have something intranet of things which is much more faster than internet of things. Okay, and much more reliable because it is your network. Physically you can see this network right in front of your eyes. So where are we using intranet of things? It can be used, or it is being used in homes nowadays. It is also being used in office. It is also being used in buildings, a complete building being automated. Okay. Apart from that, it is being used in warehouse for space management. Okay, nowadays no one is going outside, everyone is getting their things online. Now how are they managing their warehouse space? They don't know where space is empty and where space is full. Okay, so that will also be done by intranet of things. And of course we have discussed about production line monitoring control also is possible with intranet of things. So let us see a future home using intranet of things. How can things interact with each other and how does it look? Let us step into the future home. Back to Cisco Packet. So here, let me take a new workspace. Okay. Now, I am going to end devices and then I'm going to take something called as home. In this home, you see there are different types of devices. These devices are not your regular devices. This fan is not your ordinary fan. It is called as something called as IoT fan. Same like that. Okay, we can have something called garage. Yes, garage door, and then you can also have a lamp. Let me take a lamp. Okay. Now, in order to have all these devices connected to each other, okay, you can have a LAN cable, okay, and connect to the router, okay, and that router connected to a server, and the server will have a mosquito program or mosquito application, which is MQTT. Other way round, okay, you can have this integrated. Okay, let me show you one device of future, okay, which is a home gateway. A home gateway is much more powerful. It is not your Wi-Fi router. Okay, Wi-Fi router, of course, it is a good device, it's more intelligent, but a home gateway can do much more than your router. Okay, it can act as a server, as a local intranet server. Now, how do these things connect to this home gateway? Okay, so what we need to do is these devices by default are connected via LAN, but now this home gateway is wireless. Okay, now how can you connect these devices to this home gateway? Is open a device. I'm opening something called light. So double click on light. Okay, now here I'll go to something called advanced. The reason I'm going to advance this, by default only wired connection is enabled. Now I want to enable wireless connectivity. So I'll go to advanced, then I'll go to something called IO config. Here it is written, at the ending it is written FE. FE stands for fast Ethernet. Okay. Yeah, if you have any doubts regarding fast Ethernet, Vikram sir will discuss. Okay. Now I'm taking something called as W. W means wireless. Okay. Once I select one W, okay. Next, I need to go to configuration. Okay. I hope you have observed that it got connected automatically. Once I enable wireless, okay, this will search for the nearby home gateway and connect to it. Okay. Now, why did I come to configuration again? It is already connected. Why did I come to configuration? The reason is I need to tell this device that the server, IoT server, is the home gate itself. Okay, so that it will register. Okay, please understand, it will register. So in IoT, when you are working, they tell that registration of devices. Okay, so here this is my server where this lamp or this light tries to register. Okay, let me do it for fan. So I double click on fan. So I have to enable wireless. So I'm clicking on advanced. Okay, then I go to IO config tab. Then this is fast Ethernet. FE is fast Ethernet. I take wireless. Okay, now just wait. I took wireless. Now it got connected. Very good. But now I need to register it. Okay, so I'll go to config, scroll down, home gateway. Right now it will get registered on the back end. Okay, now the other thing left is garage door. I'll click on garage door. Okay, I'll go to advanced, then go to IO config tab. It is fast Ethernet. I'll make it wireless. It will get connected. These both will get connected automatically. Then I'll go to config. Then I click on home gateway. Okay, if I don't click over here, it won't be visible. Let me show you. I'll not use home gateway for garage door. Okay, I'll not click this. Okay, let me see what happens. Okay, yeah. Now in your future home, how do you think you are going to interact with these devices? How do you expect yourself to interact with these devices? Of course, you are going to use your own smart device or your smartphone. So let me take a smartphone. Now this smartphone has to connect to this home gateway. So I open this smartphone, right? Then I go to config. I need to go to wireless, and then here SSID, which is a wireless name, instead of default, I have to type home gateway. Wait for time. Yeah, wait for some time. Yeah, and then it gets connected. Okay. Now we are going to use this smartphone to control these devices. So double click on the smartphone. Yeah. Now you need to go to the desktop. This is the, imagine that this is the desktop of the smartphone. These are all the applications in the smartphone. Now you'll have something called as IoT Monitor. It is an app. Okay, this is an app in desktop apps of the smartphone. Click on IoT Monitor. Yeah. So this is the server address. Where is the server? Please understand it is inside the home gateway. So this is the address of the home gateway. This is the username and password. Click on login. Yes. And now you see two devices over here. Yes, light and fan. What happened to the garage door? Yes, the garage door is connected, but it is not registered. That's why registration of the device is important. So let me register this garage door. So I'll just go to config of this. This is for garage door. Come down, IoT server, home gateway. Now it will register. Okay. Now let me come back to this. Okay. Now I just log out so that the devices are refreshed. Log in again. This is from the smartphone. Log in again, and yes, now I can see light, ceiling fan, and garage door. Now what will you do? For example, I want the garage door to open. For example, I came in a car in the morning. So let me bring a car from Smart City. So this is my car. I came in a car. Okay, now I am inside the car. Yes, so I just open my smartphone. My smartphone gets connected, and then once I click over here, the garage door opens. So I click over here and see the garage door has opened. Okay. Yes. Now I can also operate the fan. Please observe the fan. It will simulate. So when I click on low, the fan only rotates. The interpretation of fan rotation as low, and this is fan rotation high. Then coming to light, I have dim. Please observe the light. Okay, it won't be so clear. So dim, and then on. Okay, so this is very good. This is very good. But imagine that I come in my car. Imagine that I'm coming from office in my car. Okay, I reach my home and I open the garage door. I don't just open the garage and automatically I want my fan to switch on. Okay, so imagine that my garage door has a light. So automatically when the garage door opens, I want my fan and light to switch on automatically. Okay, how do I? Very easy. Okay, so here it is using something called MQTT. So you need to create topics. Okay, and these to the topics. There are two ways. Okay, publish subscribe technique, or you can do something called conditions. So here we have conditions. Okay, monitor. So please don't get confused. Conditions is not new. Okay, instead of you doing publish and subscribe for every device, the gateway is it. Okay, so conditions. So conditions here is equivalent to the topic. So indirectly it will create a topic and it will publish a subscriber easily, because for an end user he cannot choose a publish and subscriber. He will be confused. So here they provide something called conditions. Okay, click on conditions. Here if you add a condition, it is going to become something called as a topic. Okay, in MQTT protocol. MQTT protocol. Okay, so add. Now this is going to be the topic's name. So let me say R entry. Okay, here if condition, if what? So if what is my garage? IoT 1, right? It's written IoT 1. So IoT 1. So this is when I select if, In the if condition, it is going to be what? Be a publisher. So IoT1 is going to be a publisher. So IoT1 on true. That means what? When this garage door IoT1 is open, then set means the subscriber section. Then set. Who is IoT0? IoT0 is fan. IoT fan status low. Yes, you can add another action. IoT2, that is light status on. Okay, now click on OK. Okay, now please understand that this is my topic. The topic's name is going to become something called, or the name of the condition is cars entry. The condition is provided by the publisher, who is the garage door, and the actions are going to be our subscribers. Okay, now let's go to home. Everything is off, light is off, fan is off, garage door is also off. Now please understand. Okay, now from office I'm coming home. I came home. Okay, now in my smartphone, okay, in my smartphone I'm going to open the garage door only. Open the garage door only. Okay, now please observe, I'll only switch this garage door on. Observe the light and up the fan carefully. Okay, I'm not switching on the light and fan. Who will do it? The server will take care. Okay, so please observe, clicking on garage door open. Yes, and automatically the light and fan have interacted among, so things are interacting among themselves, okay, at home. So this is an example of intranet of things. You don't need internet over here, much more faster this way. Okay, and of course if I switch it off, light won't switch off because you need to write a separate condition for it. Okay, I hope you have understood this concept. Okay, yeah, now let's go back to the presentation. Yeah, so what you have seen right now is the future home. Okay, now so till here was intranet of things. Now we need to move a bit further. Okay, if you want to go further, you need something called as an internet service provider. Okay, like your Act FiberNet or BSNL or Airtel. Okay, they need to provide you some what you call service, right? Internet service, or else you cannot connect to the internet, right? So the internet service provider. Next, you need to connect, okay, some cloud where your data is being accessed, a third party, or you can develop your or you can develop your own. Okay, so there are some servers available, some are free of cost, some are paid. Okay. Now if you have all this together, then it is called as internet of things. Try to understand that internet of things are things communicating with other things. Okay, or technologies communicating with other technologies. Okay, of course human can interfere in between. Okay, human needs to monitor sometimes, human needs to visualize the data sometimes. Okay, so this is all part of internet of things. Okay, so when you say internet of things in India, most probably this is what strikes to mind. Okay, of course it can be considered as a small example of internet of things. Okay, but please try to understand that internet of things is things interacting with things. Okay, humans are just here to monitor or visualize what is happening. Okay, so we have seen, let me revise, we have seen the history starting with something called control systems, where you have hardware, pure hardware, okay, like a sensor and an actuator. So some examples we have seen. Okay, then it moved towards embedded systems, where a microcontroller or a microprocessor is attached to a control systems. Okay, this is how evolution was happening. So first it was control systems, then you added some brain kind of programming to the control systems, that became embedded systems, okay, where the microcontroller takes the decisions, okay, and you can give the instructions. This was what embedded systems brought in. You can change the instructions, you can do updates. That is what you have, over the air updates or firmware updates, so that devices can be more secure or more what do you call, better performing or efficient. Okay, so that was embedded. Now intranet of things, what was intranet of things? Intranet of things was embedded systems attached with networking, that became intranet of things. Okay, later finally our conclusion, so imagine that this is some kind of mathematical formula step by step, and finally we concluded that internet of things is a combination of intranet of things and the cloud. Okay, so some example of internet of things taken further could be GDAX. Okay, this is not intranet of things, this is something more bigger than internet of things. Okay, freight management, smart grid, automated supply chain, connected healthcare. It can also be, we have seen, right, a simply it can be a internet controlled AC. Okay, so please try to understand how evolution has happened, like for humans. Okay, there was a single cell, then it became multiple cells, then it became a monkey, then from monkey an ape, and then it become a human. Like that, control systems added a brain, which became embedded systems. Embedded systems added networks, became intranet of things, and intranet of things added to the cloud, which became internet of things. Okay, so this is about the history and evolution. Now let's take it further. Okay, now Vikram will explain you about the different computings, okay, which happen over internet of things. Okay, Vikram.
Thank you, Sujan. Let's move towards a different scope of IoT now. If multiple things talking to each other and doing some kind of computation. Example, here instead of a bulb in previous slide, instead of a bulb, if there is a camera, like a digital camera, trying to do some image processing by the image processing team. Now, that image processing done at this digital camera is a part of these devices called end device computing here. Now, if you integrate these end devices together, that is called edge computing. Basically, edge computing is a transforming the way of data is being handled, processed, and delivered from the million of devices around the world. Okay, where does this edge computing happens? It happens at home Wi-Fi router layer in the previous slide. Now you have multiple edges here. They come together on the platform, which is called as a fog computing here. Fog computing is a middle layer between cloud data centers and IoT devices or sensors here. Fog happens at ISP. I don't say ISP generally. It happens at the next level. Okay. Now multiple fog computing come together onto a platform of cloud computing. Cloud computing is a practice of using of remote servers hosted on internet to store, manage, and process the data rather than on a local server or a local computer, you can say. Please try to understand how we are moving up. Now multiple cloud computings, they also come together on a complete virtual world, which is called as a sky computing here. When I say sky, is absolutely nothing here. All APIs, how servers talking to each other, that is clouds talk to each other here. Sky computing allows user to control resources on their own. Okay, this is how it looks. You have end devices, how they collaborate and become edge devices, then fog, then cloud, and sky, which is really a virtual here. Sky is like a clouds integration here. Why we need these architectures? Because these million of devices do not overload these thousands of devices here. Example, I'll take whether the temperature is changing or not. You don't want to post the temperature to the server every time. Imagine n number of end devices are there to just capture temperature in the weather. You don't want to disturb the cloud and don't want to disturb the edge, which will disturb the flow. If any change, then send to the cloud. So I'll take another example here. Whenever the computation happens in a microcontroller, it is a part of devices called as a end device computing here. Now all these end devices, for example, there is a capture temperature and they are sending temperature to the edge devices here. If I am in a small region, example LB Nagar, I get the temperature value of LB Nagar from the Google. Okay. They don't disturb the server directly, they just submit to the edge device here. Now, edge device compute the average of all this, and if it finds a change in the temperature only, then it submit to the fog, or else they keep the data with them. Edge is nowadays called as a dew computing. Now in a fog computing, imagine all the edges in a city, they give it to the one fog node here. I can take one city or a district or a state, then edge devices submit to the fog. It may be a city, it may be a state. Now this fog tries to compute the average of the temperature, which is getting from the edges here. Now if you want Hyderabad city temperature, you don't disturb the cloud here if average of temperature does not change. Please try to understand there's a separate threshold. If it is changes, it will submit to the cloud. Now what do you do in the cloud generally? In a cloud, you can do anything like data analytics, data science, and whatever you want, because you have a lot of resources here. Now you can do the forecasting. You can have power to compute the huge amount of data. Then you can do the forecasting. Now what happens here actually? Actually, you have a temperature, air pressure, humidity, all together in the cloud here. Now you have some weather information from the satellite, that is from another different cloud. There is a earthquake data, which is on the different cloud. Now if they don't come together, you cannot detect the disasters here generally. That's why people are coming together, integrating together. That is where sky computing comes. You get the patterns of different platforms of different clouds. They come together here, so that you can now able to get the information about the disasters earlier. Thank you, Sujanavan. I'll hand over to Sujanavan now.
Thank you, Vikram. Now let us see the various research areas in IoT. Because IoT is a very budding topic, it is very young topic. There are many problems in IoT because the full form of IoT itself is a big confusion. Okay, so there are many research areas in IoT. So let us start with the first research area, which is standardization. Standardization itself is a big confusion in IoT because there are no fixed frameworks or no fixed technologies or no fixed protocol stacks which combine or which are able to make some proper standardizations. So I hope you can observe. Let me zoom in. So I hope you can observe that there are many standards. You might have seen all these standards, like for home and building automation, there are some standards. And again, some standards even repeat themselves. For example, you see ISO over here, ISO stands everywhere. Yes, you can say ISO everywhere. Yes. So there are some standards specifically for home and building automation. There are some standards specifically for manufacturing and industry automation. And you see there are too many standards because people are unable to confine to one standard of IoT, okay, which is leading to one of the research area of IoT itself as standardization. Now, if all these automations, health, vehicle, energy, cities, they need to work. Again, they need to run on something called as telecommunication. They all need telecommunication. These are all automations which need telecommunications. So again, you see in telecommunications, you have different standards. Bluetooth is a standard. LoRa is, nowadays you are seeing LoRa as a standard. Yes, and again you have the old W3 consortium which defines about your World Wide Web. If you are going to use World Wide Web, who needs to give the standards? That is going to be the W3 consortium. Okay, so yeah, you see all these, right? So you have IEEE, you have 3GPP, okay, you have ZigBee. So there are many standards. Okay, so this is one research area in IoT because people are unable to confine to a particular framework or confined to a particular technology or a particular protocol stack when they want to implement a solution. That's why standardization itself became a research area. The next research area is the architecture. So what is architecture? Different standards combined together. There are some standards which are combined together which have proven in many solutions, working well in many solutions. So what big companies have done is they have put these standards together and told that if you use these standards in this particular scenario, in this particular way, it is going to become a perfect solution, and that is going to become system architecture. So every company has tried their own standards. They have clubbed many standards and created their own system architecture. So what actually are system architectures? They are actually conceptual models sometimes. Okay, they are sometimes conceptual models. Yeah, service oriented architectures or process oriented architectures or data oriented architectures. These are all the topics when you talk about system architecture. So here you are seeing Intel IoT platform merged with Google GCP, Google Cloud Platform. They have given a standard, they have given an architecture by combining some standards. Again, you see AWS IoT, which is giving its own system architecture. Okay, so this is AWS system architecture, AWS IoT system architecture. Okay, so they have their own standards. This is a problem because already standards is a problem, is a research area. So system architecture which is utilizing the standards again becomes a research area. And this is from IBM. So this is from IBM, how IBM creates its architecture. Okay, and this is from Microsoft. how it creates the architecture, and Samsung, who came at like a little bit late, okay, into the domain, okay, it has proposed its own architecture. Of course, this architecture is proposed after successful deployment, okay, and there is something called Xenon stack. Okay, this stack has compared all the existing IoT architectures which you have seen in other slides, and they have proposed their own architecture, okay, using some open source technologies. Okay, so here mostly in system architecture you'll be seeing the technology standards. Okay, so system architecture itself is a research area. Next, coming to interoperability and integration. What is the problem? Standards are there, very good. Okay. Now the problem is manufacturers, people who actually manufacture your components, and people who get them manufactures. Okay, those are called vendors. That means for one vendor, there could be multiple manufacturers, or one manufacturer can be manufacturing components for multiple vendors. That is a problem. Okay, and these vendors sometimes do not come together, or these manufacturers do not come together. Okay, now that creates a problem of interoperability and integration. Okay, that's why people have proposed some semantics. You'll be seeing some papers on semantics, and where you need some gateway support if you have to integrate different types of things manufactured by different people. For example, you have Google Home. In your home, you're talking to something called Google Home or Alexa. Alexa is connected to some types of devices. So when you purchase a device, a light or a fan or something, you need to check whether it is interoperable or compatible with Alexa. Okay, so that is how people are checking whether is it compatible. Is this device compatible with Alexa? Okay, why has this problem come? Because of so many manufacturers and vendors. It could be hardware and it could be software also. Okay, so there are too many people. Okay, so that's the problem why we have interoperability and integration as a research area. Too many people manufacturing and too many people who are getting it manufactured, who are the vendors. So for example, Arduino itself, Arduino is a open source hardware. So someone has defined the open source hardware which is available free of cost. Now once it is available, the architecture is available free of cost, people can use it and manufacture their own. For example, you have for example, let me see, whom do we have here? Yeah, we have Spark Fun, then we have VMOS. Okay, and there are many vendors who are using that open source hardware and creating their own products. Okay, of course sometimes they are compatible and sometimes they are not. Okay, so that is another research area, that is interoperability and integration. The next research area is availability and reliability. Now when I talk about availability and reliability, it's purely about connectivity, mobility and routing. Okay, what kind of connectivity you need? Do you need mobility in your connectivity? And what is the type of routing you're going to use? Okay, now there are different requirements. If you see something called drones need something called as broadband IoT. Okay, something like LTE technology. Okay, then you have automotives, vehicles. Okay, for example, vehicle to vehicle technology, V2V technology has increased. Now what kind of connectivity you need? You need something called as critical IoT. Okay, 5G. Okay, then industry and automation, it needs more robust connectivity. Okay, nowadays I hope you have seen that robotic operations have been done, means robots are not doing the operation. A doctor who is in US, okay, He's an expert in a particular surgery, and there's a patient in India. So in olden days, what used to happen? This patient in India used to be sent to US, and then he used to get operated. Now imagine the amount of cost for a patient to travel in a flight and transport him locally. It involves a lot of cost, and again you need to pay the doctor. Okay, it involves a lot of cost. But here, robotic surgery, the doctor in US, okay, or doctor in India also can operate a patient using robotic arms which are equipped somewhere else. Now imagine the precision with which the operation should happen. Okay, creativity you need. Okay, so that is all is going to be a huge challenge. Okay, availability and reliability. Yeah, next, data storage and processing. Of course, computing, analysis, and visualization are already the challenges nowadays. It can be IoT, any other domain. Okay, these are already the challenges because data is growing very fast. Okay, so in the past it was called ETL. Okay, later they have made it as ingest and analyze. Okay, but nowadays it is somewhat different. Okay, nowadays, like earlier in the beginning, when database came into the market long ago, it was just collection of data. Okay, then we thought we need to process this data. This data is raw. Let us process this data and make it information. Okay, make it make it inform so that it will be helpful for modeling. Okay, helpful for modeling. So this raw data was analyzed, then it was interpreted, and it was understood to make it information. Next, this information is being organized. Okay, right now, yes, it is being organized and it is inferred means it is again tested again and again. Is it correct? Is it the right? Is it this method? Is it right? Is this data right? And now it is becoming something called as knowledge. Now based on this knowledge, you can do something called reasoning. That means you got information. Now based on that information, should a particular device switch on and off? Okay, if you are a human, you might switch on and off a device. For example, there is a gas leak. When there is a gas leak, should electronics be switched on and off during that time? No, it should not happen, because when you switch on some electronic device, a spark comes. So when the gas leak is detected, immediately, okay, it should come to the knowledge of reasoning that it is not going to operate any device. Okay, it should have that knowledge. Okay, now that knowledge is being shared with others. Why are you sharing this knowledge? Why are you sharing this knowledge? Because there's a gas leak at your home. Okay, if you don't share it, okay, you are living in an apartment, you don't share this knowledge, the others don't know. Okay, because if there is smell, I can know, but there is no smell in the gas leak, I'm in the apartment beside you, I may get affected. So by sharing, or you're going to the next level, which is called exchange. Okay, exchange. Once you exchange information, then you get to know. Okay, others will get awareness about your knowledge. Okay, now they can be aware and they can run out of their homes. Okay, they can get an alarm. Okay, so next thing is scalability, a very tight challenge because of massive growth, and discovery is becoming difficult. Because of massive growth, discovery is becoming difficult. Of course, someone might say, what is the difficulty? We've had IPv4. Okay, now we are having IPv6. Very good. IPv6 can support everything, but who is obeying that standard? I hope if you just recollect, let's go 10 years back, there's an issue. There is an issue that some mobile phones, okay, some mobile phones are getting similar IMEI numbers and they're going to be banned. Okay, this was an issue 10 years back. I hope you know, and there was an issue last month also for some manufacturer that their mobile phones are getting IMEI numbers. Okay, similar. Okay, now that is the problem with discovery. Okay, that is the problem with discovery. You are handling massive growth, but are you able to handle the discovery? Because some devices are becoming similar. Okay, manufacturers are not obeying the standards. Okay, so scalability is increasing. You are able to handle the growth, but it is not being happened. Okay, people are not obeying standards. What should you do at that time? Okay, but anyway, as per IoT analytics, okay, he is one research group, IoT analytics. In 2018 he made a prediction. In 2018 he made a prediction that in 2020 there will be 21.2 billion billion IoT and non-IoT devices clubbed together. So this is non-IoT and together. That was in 2018. Okay. Now just see, even the predictions are failing. So see, Cisco before 2020 itself, based on the analytics, the data provided by Nokia, IDC and IHS, Cisco, the source is from Cisco. Cisco found out that before 2020 itself, there are 20 billion IoT units. This is only regarding IoT chart. Okay, there is no non-IoT devices. Here you have seen non-IoT and IoT, but here he has discovered that before 2020 itself, 20 billion plus IoT units are already installed. Okay, so that massive it's going to become. Okay, discovery is going to become a challenge. Yes. So next comes management and self-configuration. So what do you mean by management and self-configuration? If there are billions of devices, how can a company come sit at your home and configure your devices? It cannot. And something goes wrong. You don't want every time something goes wrong, a service, you'll raise a complaint, company person will run physically from his location, come to your home. Nowadays, I don't want anyone to come to my home. He can just tell me, I'll fix the error. Okay, because of this pandemic issue. Okay, so now the challenge has become that the gateway or the networks should be self-managed or self-configured. Okay, and it should be able to heal itself, repair itself. Okay, this has become a challenge. So who has to heal itself or who has to repair itself? It could be the device, it could be the network, it could be the software application, or it could be the services. They should be able to manage themselves, configure themselves. Okay, and then they should be able to service themselves. Imagine 10 years ago, if I want to do a payment, a bank payment from one account to another account, okay, which is in different city, okay, the other bank should also be running. Okay, and there's a particular timing in which this RTGS and NEFT used to happen. Okay, but nowadays see how it's happening. Everything, like you can even do it night 1:30. Okay, and something goes wrong, no person is over there. Okay, some transaction goes wrong, there is no person, automatically the money is coming back. Okay, until and unless there are some exceptions where a person needs to monitor your transaction and then he'll revert your money back. Okay, so this is what is called as automatic management and self configuration and self repair. Okay, this is going to be another research area. Okay, next is going to be performance and quality of service. Of course, performance and quality of service are both together. Okay, now which type of quality of service you need? Okay, see, if I'm just going for controlling a fan at home, I just want to control a fan, a simple fan at home. Do I need high quality of service? It's not required. It's not at all required. But imagine at a hospital, in an operation theater, okay, they need to control a exhaust fan, or they need to control the temperature, ambient temperature. Then you need more quality of service. You need better performance. Okay, so you should understand that if you are going for quality of service for non-important things, okay, it is going to increase your loads. It's going to finally increase the cost also. So please understand that wherever quality of service should be there, it should be there. Wherever it is not necessary, okay, it should not be there, because it will increase, okay, it will increase your budget also, and finally no one will purchase it. Okay. Yeah. Next one is identification. Okay, we have seen it in discovery. Okay, we have seen discovery and massive growth. Okay, but what is identification? Now I'll tell that my IMEI number is perfect, unique, but who is going to tell it? You can't tell it. Okay, who has to tell? You can't say that I am citizen of India. No, what is the proof? So here you have something called certificates. We have addressing schemes, very good. You have addressing schemes, very good, but I can use your address also. But what is the proof that you are you? Okay, so then you have third party. Third party will tell, I'll give you a certificate. Nowadays you're getting certificates, right? Now how do you tell that a particular certificate belongs to you? They do something called as, when you go to job, they'll ask your college. That is called backtracking, okay, or background verification. Okay, so they'll send the certificate to the college, or they'll inquire whether this person is unique, authentic or not. Okay, so we need to have a global identity platform for IoT, where you'll have certificates being issued and managed for for such huge number of devices. Okay, so you need to have something called certificate inventory. Okay, a huge database again. Okay, and of course you will get certificates once you enroll. Okay, so there are some steps involved in it. Okay. Next comes energy consumption. This is majorly for devices which are running independent of power. For example, oceanic survey, you will have buoys which don't have energy being supplied. Okay, so I hope you know what is a buoy. This is the sea, and you might be seeing in movies that this will be a buoy. Okay, it will have a solar panel on the top over here, and then there will be some hollow iron sphere in the bottom. You might be seen in some movies. Okay, it will be left in the sea so that it can study the sea, the tides, and it can give you information whether there is a high tide or a low tide. Okay, yeah, if there's a low tide, it will grab you into the sea or the ocean. Okay, if there's a high tide, again it's going to flush you with water. Now for them, you need to know what energy harvesting options are there. Is it only solar, or it can get from wind also? Okay, and then you need to able to maintain the battery. You need to maintain the battery. Okay, and you need low power wireless, for example the LoRa. Okay, because these buoys are somewhere in the ocean, you need long range low power wireless communication. Okay, yeah, and of course when I'm talking about energy consumption, okay, for these remote things, there's a problem. Some people tell that I have devised this IoT system which will take very low battery, and it will run on the battery for 40 years. But let me tell you something. What is the lifespan of your battery? Okay, even the battery has problem. Yes, the battery also doesn't work after some time. Yes, even if your device can run for 40 years, battery doesn't work. Okay, battery gets rusted. Okay, so I have taken a small example of this tap and a bucket. Okay, and there are holes in this bucket. Okay, let me see that the power consumption is the holes in the bucket. Okay, battery capacity is the size of the bucket. So this size of the bucket is battery capacity. Battery lifespan is rusting. This bucket is iron bucket, it is rusting. Okay, please don't tell, sir, why didn't you use plastic bucket? No, so it is degrading. Okay, this bucket is degrading. There's a lifespan of a battery also. And then battery recharge cycles. Okay, so there is rusting when it is idle, and there is rusting due to water flow also. Okay, so that is number of cycles it can last. Okay, and energy harvesting techniques, the tap and water, this tap filling the bucket is your energy harvesting technique. Okay, you should see that this flow is greater than this flow. This flow A is greater than the water being lost from the holes. So A should be greater than B. Okay. Yeah, I hope you understood this energy consumption concept. It is a research area. Next comes security. This is a huge topic which is running around, and people are using nowadays trying to use blockchain into IoT. I'm not a master in security, but I'm only telling you that you know that security has become a very big issue. Okay, you have different levels of security: security at the device level, security at the gateway level, and security at the cloud. Okay, now the problem is you won't know about the backdrop in security unless suddenly in the newspaper you'll get this article. Okay, this is a recent article in May 7. Okay, from 8 years this fellow was operating. Good thing is he was only downloading some videos. Okay, some cartoon videos. Okay, so from 8 years he was operating. No one got to know until recently in May. So he was operating since 2015. Okay, or before. Okay, in 2015 it peaked. Before 2015 he was operating on it. Okay, so it was very massive. It was a very massive attack which was very dormant until someone has understood that there was an attack. Okay, next is environment issues. So there are different environment considerations you need to see when you're developing some hardware. You need to know carbon footprint, then whether you are using lead or mercury or cadmium or chromium, which are very toxic elements, and you need to get it certified by many organizations. Some organizations like FCC, CE is popular, like ROHS, and how much compliance is it? Is it 10% compliance or 20% compliance? Okay, and ROHS also has uh, different compliance levels. Then is it lead free or chromium free or mercury free? Nowadays, when you purchase a LED bulb or a CFL bulb in those days, you used to get something called as mercury free, because mercury is a toxic element. Okay, you don't want it. Okay, that's why people are not using this element. They are using some alternative elements which don't harm the environment. Environment here means humans as well as other animals and nature. Okay, so this is another topic. Okay, this is mainly for people who are going into manufacturing. Okay, they deal with this topic. Okay, the manufacturers. Yeah, so these are all the research areas we have seen. Okay, and these are all the research topics related to these research areas. Okay, so where are we in this horizontals and verticals of IoT world? These are the horizontals and verticals. Okay, so exactly where are we? So we are in this location of technology stack. Okay, we are in this horizontal. Okay, we are not in a particular vertical. No, we are not just with the device hardware or device software or communication. We are with technology. Okay, we are with technology. So we are in a horizontal. Okay, so we use device hardware, we use device software, we use communication, we use cloud, and we develop the applications. Okay, so what are the basic tools to start off? If you want to go with technology, what are the basic tools to start off? So there are many. Now some tools only help with your physical entities, some tools help with the entire domain of IoT. Okay, and some tools help in the integration of things on the cloud side. For example, IFTTT, if this then that, helps you in integration. It helps you in integration only. Okay, then if you don't know how to devise hardware, how to connect hardware, and how to program, circuito.io will help you. If you want to do everything, okay, then you have seen Cisco Packet Tracer can do everything. There is something called Babyvise, there's something called PubCarbon, there's something called NetSim and OmniNet++. All these can do everything of Internet of Things. Okay, apart from that, you have something called Kuja, which is a part of Contiki OS developed based on Ubuntu, and you can use NS3 or NS2 also. Okay, but it will not help you in Internet of Things, but it will help you in intranet of things. Okay, next, if you want to model only physical entities and work with physical entities only, you can use something called as Proteus. Okay, then you want to develop applications, okay, and you don't want to learn Android Studio, you can use MIT App Inventor. Okay, it's a cloud service, most of you know. Then if you want to program with Raspberry Pi or any Pi, you need to know something called as a visual language, which is Scratch and Python. Okay, and Arduino, you want to work with Arduino, you have to use Arduino IDE, and something called Fritzing also will help you in designing. Okay, now if you want to go with hardware, you need to know whether you need to use a microcontroller or a processor. Okay, and the sensors and actuator modules. Nowadays no one wants to do soldering. All computer science people want to use something called modules, which are plug and you can just plug and play. Okay, and about the power, okay, which type of power you are going to supply. Yeah, there are some ARM based microprocessors which are PIs, all the PIs and BeagleBoard, and there are some x86 architecture based which are Edison and Udo. Okay, if you don't want to go with ARM, you can also go with x86. Okay, a regular PC architecture. Okay, and sometimes you need to add some network shield based on the networks you want, like Zigbee or LoRa or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. And there are many Arduino based hardwares, microcontrollers, like one of the popular is nowadays is Node MCU, or cheaper than Node MCU is VMOS D1 Mini. Okay, in the market it comes at 250 or 260, and VMOS D1 is a little bit more cheaper, it comes at 220. Okay, yeah, they have their advantages and disadvantages. Next, coming to the cloud side, if you just want a regular example of Internet of Things, you can Blink. You want some MATLAB analytics and visualization, you can go with ThingSpeak. There's also IoT5. Yeah, IBM gives you something called as Watson and Bluemix platform. MediaTek has something called as MediaTek is a manufacturer of your chipset, your mobile phone chipset. Okay, MediaTek. Okay, he has something called as Cloud Sandbox, but it is only free for one device. Okay, yeah, of course you can go for Google, Amazon, and Microsoft if you have budget to go, or you can also try the trial versions. Okay, yeah, trial versions means most probably Amazon gives you the trial version. Okay, yeah, instead of that you can use these platforms. Okay, so these are all software as a service. If you want platform of a service, you can always use our very own 000 web host. Okay, or award space, but here you need to program yourselves. Here in software as a service, programs are written ready and you just need to integrate them, but here you need to write the programs on yourself. Okay, so what's the difference? The difference is control and security. Okay, so this is about the various simulators and technologies and software as a service you can use in Internet of Things. So Cisco, Vikram, do you want to brief the end about Cisco's statistics?
You continue. You continue.
Okay, so Cisco has already given its statistics that already by 2020, most of you might have seen, if you are associated with Cisco, that 4 billion people are already connected, and there's a lot of revenue opportunity in networking, and a lot of development opportunity in the networking and application building, and a lot of uh, manufacturing can still go on, because each person nowadays is using multiple devices. I myself, as an individual, I have my own phone, my own wireless keyboard, mouse, my own laptop, my own tab. So each person, Fitbits, okay, each person itself has many embedded devices himself. And and a lot of scope in big data analytics going on in the future. So there's a lot of scope for everyone, like manufacturers or people who want to do business or application development and so on. So if you want any Cisco courses, Vikram is associated. You can contact him on this number, on this phone number, and this is his mail ID. He's a Cisco certified instructor, and he works with the regional partner, which is EduSkills. So Cisco doesn't come directly; they come through regional partners. So there's a regional partner called EduSkills, and Vikram is associated with it. So thank you for your patience. I hope you have understood some basics out of IoT. So now I hand over the session to the organizers. You
Sainath.
can take over. Yeah, I request the organizers to take over.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sujanan, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Sujanavan and Mr. Vikram. So today we have got and we have been updated with a very good knowledge on IoT. So we have learned about a basic home automation system, how the devices could be connected and how the simulation could be possible between them. And really it's a wonderful session from both of you, and we thank a lot from the Siddhartha College as well as the participants. Thank you, sir. And thank you everyone, all the participants who have been patient and who have been listening to the session. So I request everyone to switch on your video once. Switch on. We would like to take a photograph. So everyone please switch on your video once. And thank you for being with us. And we will be regularly, this is our 4th workshop series conducted during this COVID situation. And thank you for being with us. We'll be continuing the same spirit, and towards the technology, we'll be conducting several other programs. So on this occasion, I would like to thank my management, my principal, my college coordinators, my faculty, all the people, and finally the resource persons who have made this event a success. I thank everyone for connecting to the session, and coordinator, please take some photographs of the session, and the certificate feedback link will be shared in the chat box. So you have to fill the feedback link so that automatically you will be receiving a mail of your certificate. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let us sign off from the session. Thank you. Now, if anyone wants to speak anything about the session, we can invite the queries, or else we'll sign off. Anyone?
Right, good session. Congratulations for conducting this session. We got no problem.
It's a very good session,
you,
sir. Thank you very much. It's very good session on IoT. Thanks for conducting.
Yeah, okay, sir. Let us sign off the session. Keep rocking. Bye. Thank you very much.
We will meet in next meeting, sir.
Yeah, definitely, sir.
Thank you.